Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Mulondo, and I'm going to present on the subject of health education for the fourth year. And we are going to cover the following. We're going to look at the dynamics of HIV, which is the study of emerging thoughts. Then we're also going to look at opportunistic infection of HIV. Then we're going to look at the antiretroviral therapy, and we're going to look at the different classes. Then we're also going to look at antiretroviral therapy, looking at the toxicity and it's how do you manage ARV when you're on ARVs. And then we're also going to look at the drug resistance of ARV and how it interacts with other drugs when you take ARV. We're going to look at the adherence of literacy awareness, how important it is. And then we're also going to look at the role of nutrition when it comes to HIV. And then also how to live positively with HIV. And then we're going to finish then looking at the national health policies and the healthcare systems in Namibia. Just to start with, on the dynamics of HIV, HIV is a retrovirus. It is a virus which is having a life cycle. It is a virus that replicates itself. It's also a virus that goes through different stages using your CD4 cell, attacking your CD4 cell in order to bind itself and having entry. And the moment it enters your cell, it mutates itself and then it replicates with HIV particles. And when it matures, then of course it infects also the other CD4 cells in your bloodstream. Now, with regard to opportunistic infection, now the moment you are actually HIV positive and you've been tested HIV, it's very important that there are other diseases that can also infect you, or you can also be infected with. Because what happened if you, as we have discussed in the previous studies, that the moment you are infected with HIV, that moment your immune system is going down and it's become much more weaker. So which means is you have to look at your immune system, and the moment your immune system is weaker or it's low, then it actually gives opportunity for other infection. And related infection that you can get, or possible infection you can get, is TB, which is tuberculosis. And then we're also going to look MDR, TB, or the XDR. This is now when you default on your DOT treatment. And it's also when you are drug resistant, it's drug resistant TB, which is called MDR TB and XDR TB. And then of course other co-infection that you can also get is then also meningitis, and the list goes on. So it's very important to know. And at this stage, researchers are still doing research, looking at other related opportunistic diseases, infection that you can get the moment when you are HIV positive. Now, just look at the ARV, or the antiretroviral therapy. As we know right now, there is no cure for HIV. There is no vaccine, and scientists are ongoing doing research, looking for ways to come up with a cure or with a vaccine, just like with any other diseases. Now, in the absence of any cure and vaccine for HIV, the scientists or medical doctors, they actually recommend that patients must be put on ARV or ART, antiretroviral therapy. Now, there are different kinds of ARVs that you can use based on the different regimens that you are placed on. And it's very important that the moment you are actually on your ARV or on your regimen, then you have to adhere to the treatment. which is prescribed to you. Now, the reason why you are put on ART, or why patients are put on ART, is they want to make sure that the HI virus it's being reduced in the bloodstream, and it reach an undetectable levels. So it brings down, or it wants it to reduce the viral load within your bloodstream, and then increase your antibodies within your body itself, or it build up your immune system. So that's the whole goal, or the objective of having a ART, or being on ART therapy. There are also other benefits. For an example, if you're on ARV, benefits like you will be more healthier, your immune system will be much stronger. It also means that you will resist any opportunistic diseases, or infection that you can get. And then also the other benefit of the ART is of course for mother and child infection, is you reduce the risk of mother to child infection. So which means when you're on ART or ARV, that you will not be able to infect your child or your unborn child, because the viral load is being suppressed, or the viral is being suppressed within your bloodstream. So there are so more healthy benefits for you being on ART than not being on ART or on the ARV. So the sooner a client starts, the better it is for a client. And Namibia has come up with different guidelines which are prescribed for people that are HIV positive, or people that are going to be on ARV, or are going on ARV, or are already on ARV. So there are national guidelines on ART treatment, which are mostly updated every year, second year. So it's very important to make sure that these guidelines are being updated according to the World Health Organization guideline for people that are on ART or on ARV. So it's very important that once you are put on the treatment, your health practitioner or your medical doctor, whoever prescribed the ARV to you, will then also explain to you exactly what the ARV is all about, how to use it and when to use it, and also looking at the possibility of defaulting and the danger of defaulting on your ART. So the national guidelines are very important, specifically for people that are on ARV. Now, as we are talking right now, there is ongoing studies looking at the CD4 cell count. So looking at the level of CD4 count. So the moment that you are detected that you are HIV positive, so the first thing that they will do is they will test your bloodstream, and they will look at the copies of CD4 or the T cells within your body, and that's what they call the CD4 cell count. And based on your CD4 cell count, then it will determine what kind of therapy or ARV will you receive. And all of this is then based on the national guidelines. So it's very important to know that the guidelines have been updated, so it's familiar for you to be familiar with the latest update of the guidelines for ARV treatment, so that you can use. And then also the other thing with regard to ARV, there is currently also a study that's been conducted that's looking at alternative medicine. For an example, medicine that can complement ARV, medicine that can help boost your immune system. And this is still ongoing. In some countries, especially in Africa, it has been quite successful, where traditional medicine has been used as part of the complementary approach to ARV, and where they look at, for example, medicine. There has been so many research, and it's quite in advanced stage. For example, there are natural products, natural herbs that are being used, like the devil's claw, for example, which is in Namibia, and many other different herbs and roots that you can use as part of building your immune system. So this is an ongoing research where researchers are looking at alternative medicine, and especially for people that are actually having side effects on ARV, or that are very for an example, very much more sensitive to use ARV and allergic or having allergic reaction when it comes to ARV. So alternative medicine is ongoing and research is quite in advanced stage. So using ARV it's very important that it needs to be managed. You have to manage ARV and how you use it, looking from a patient's perspective and then also looking from a pharmaceutical perspective or as health service provider. ARV, if not used well, it can become very toxic for your body, and it's very important that you have to make sure that you take the right ARV and that you manage it well, because if you don't manage the ARV, then it might have some side effects, and it will definitely influence you, affect your body, biological body, also your mind psychologically. And there has been some patients that has been on ARV, and because of mismanagement or not keeping the prescribed requirement, that they actually default, and the ARV became a toxicity in the body. And it's very important that you have to know this, because ARV treatment, it's a long-term treatment, it's not a short-term treatment, and it's very important that once you are using the ARV treatment, that you have to abide and you have to manage it well. If not, it can become very fatal, so it might end to your death, or it might increase the viral load within your bloodstream. So it's very important that when you are using ARV, you have to manage it well and you have to follow the prescription. So as I said earlier, there are side effects, and it's very important to know what kind of side effects. So if you are on ARV or you are using ART, there are certain symptoms that you can look at. So I'm going to give you a few symptoms that you can actually use, or that you can look at, which are very important. Symptoms like, for example, a rash on your skin. You will find rash all over your body, so and that's one of the symptoms that you might experience, that it's a sign of side effect, or that your body is rebelling against, or it's not accommodating the ARV that you are taking. The other one, it's your liver. You will certainly experience symptoms which are liver related, because your liver is being affected by the ARV. It becomes very toxic, and you will have definitely some symptoms when it's liver related. The other side effects that you can also experience on the ARV toxicity is then the cellular function. Your cells within your body will dysfunction, and there will be some side effects, and you might have some blisters, you might have some headaches, you might have some weakness within your body, body loss, you might have sweating, a lot of sweating. So these are all mostly excessive sweating, excessive unexpected body loss. So these are some of the side effects that you might experience. Then of course your pancreas will also be affected, pancreatitis, which is another symptoms that you can experience. And then of course your whole facial abnormality. Your lips will swell, you will have glands in your neck, your eyes, how you focus, you cannot focus anymore, eyes becomes weak, your nose will scratch, your cheeks will be totally different, your whole facial expression, you might have blisters in and out of different seasons or throughout the year, unexpected blisters on your lips that cannot be healed, or that takes a long time to heal, and your whole body and your face just starts to swell. It's mostly bigger than your neck, or you will have experienced some glands in the lower part of your mouth. So these are some of the abnormality that you can experience. So it's very important that you have to make sure that once you experience or you see the symptoms that are happening, that you have to go and see your service provider or your health provider or your counselor. So then mostly what they will do is they will take another test, look at your CD4, can look at what was prescribed to you, and then of course they will also then see if they can change you, put you on a different regimen. And this is very important for your health, yourself, and then also of course for your life, which is at risk. So there's a lot of drug resistance on ARV, and it mostly happens when you default. And as I explained in the previous lessons, the moment you stop, you're on ARV and you unexpectedly stop because of your lifestyle, or you don't continue with your treatment, your body become resistant to the drug. So which means the regimen you are on or the drug that you are using becomes weak. It cannot fight the HIV virus anymore. So which means your immune system will become weaker, and your whole body will rebel. And this is what we call drug resistance. So it resists. And it's very important that to understand that the HIV virus is having different genetic information. And the HIV virus, the moment it comes into your body, it studies your body, it studies your genetic code, and then also looking at how your bodies are responding, especially your immune system and your antibodies. And it's very important to know the moment the virus changes itself within yourself, or the HIV virus, this is the process which we call mutation. So the virus or the HIV virus mutate itself so that it can produce or bring forth HIV particles. So the moment that happens, as I explained, you will become resistant to medication you're on, which means it will not have any effect on the HIV virus anymore, and you will not have control anymore. And the result is the HIV virus within your bloodstream, it starts to multiply and replicate itself, and there is a multiplication of the HIV virus, which will then make it very difficult for you. So it's very important that when you're on ARV that you have to prevent any drug resistance as much as possible, and that can only happen when you are continuing with your prescription. It's also important that you have to monitor your ARV, and then also go for ongoing testing to make sure that you are not having drug resistance. The other aspect on the ARV is to look at other drug that you are using besides the ARV. We call it the drug-to-drug interaction. How does the other drugs that you are using interact with the ARV? Let's take for an example, when you are a diagnosis with TB and you are having TB tuberculosis, and you are on a DOT treatment, which is a direct observation treatment. And in the same time, then you are also HIV positive, so which means you are using two sets of medication, which is the ARV for HIV and then the DOT treatment, which is for TB. So you have to make sure that when you are going to use both drugs, there is an interaction, and it's very important that you have to follow the prescription of your health service provider to make sure that the drug-to-drug interaction is effective, and you can use both drugs concurrently. If that's not happening, then it might be very fatal to your body. So it's very important to understand that it's very important that the drug-to-drug interaction needs to be adhered to, and you have to follow. So current research is still ongoing, looking at this whole approach to drug-to-drug interaction, specifically for people that are having high blood pressure or other lifestyle diseases that are on medication, and how do you interact or co-use these drugs, so which are very important. Now we're going to look a little bit on the literacy awareness. As a patient, you have to be you need to have information on ART, you need to have information on HIV, you need to be aware of that updated information. You need to make sure what is expected from you, specifically when you have instruction from a medical health provider. So it's very important that you have to change your behavior. You have to make the decision. So the first thing that happens is you have to have knowledge about ARV. Secondly is you have to make a choice. And thirdly is you have to make a change with regard to your behavior. You need to live a healthy behavior. So it's very important that when it comes to adherence to ARV is you have to look at certain aspects. The first thing is you have to look at your relationship with your provider, your health service provider, and of course also the treatment that you are put on, and then also the clinical settings where you are getting your counseling. So it is very important that you have to look at your health status. You have to look at where you are right now, and it's imperative that your health outcomes will be determined by your adherence. If your adherence are poor, then your health will also be poor. But if your adherence is strong, then your health outcomes will be strong. And the moment that you are not on your adherence, of course, it will happen that you will have a high medical bill and your life will be at stake. So it's important that you have to manage your adherence and you have to look at the issue of adherence. So while you're on ARV, nutrition of food is a very important aspect that you have to look at. For an example, the moment you're on ARV is your metabolism is faster, your intake of food is quite high because your body requires it because of the ARV that's in your bloodstream. So food is very important, and it also helps you. The moment that you eat food, it will build your immune system. So there are 4 groups of food that you have to take, and it's very important that the moment you use food or you use any type of nutrition, you have to use a combination of these four main groups, or these groups of food. The first one is carbohydrate. We have proteins, we've got fats, oils, vitamins, and minerals. So it's important that you have to eat. For example, if you have a plate of food, don't just eat meat. You have to have a combination of fish, of starch, which is potato, vegetables, and then of course also to have any other related, like olive oil, for example. So on your plate, some people are only eating starch for the rest of their life, like bread, and they not combine it with any other food intake or food categories, like for example vegetables. So it's very important for your immune system that you have to build. So it means when you are on nutrition, you're using nutrition, then of course your viral load or viral infection, your viral load will be lower, and it will also build your cells within your body, and your nutrients will then be, it will actually reduce any inflammation that you might have, or any side effects or co-infections. So, and of course, as I said, your metabolism will change when you use HIV, and it's very important that you need to make sure that you are using good nutrition as much as possible. So while you're on HIV and you know your HIV status, it's very important that you need to live positively. Positively does not just means that you are HIV positive. Is how do you see life? Is how do you see the future? Do you still believe that even if you are HIV today, that you can live for the next 10 to 20 or 30 years or beyond that? So it all depends on your mind. So the moment that you know what is your status, or what is your status, is number one is accept your status as it is. It's very important. The moment you accept your status and you accept that you're HIV positive, then number two is you have to make a decision to love. because no one can make the decision for you. It's important that you have to learn. And this is mostly where people are going through the different stages of denial, then going through the stages of crisis, and then come to the stage of acceptance, and then going to the stage of living positively. And unfortunately, when it comes to the acceptance of status, is people find it very difficult, and that's where you have a high rate of people committing suicide, and because people feel that the moment they're HIV positive, they don't have a future. And it's very important that you can still plan your future, you can still have children, you can still marry, and of course, which is very important, you should need to have a healthy lifestyle, which means cleanliness, hygiene, sanitation, and then of course going for your ongoing HIV test, and so on. So there is a number of studies that are happening currently, which is based on the National Health Policy of Namibia. And Namibia as a country, we have the following policy, and I've highlighted it in a slide, which say, and the aim or the goal of the National Health Policy of Namibia is to achieve health and social well-being for all Namibians. And this policy is actually a framework which is being used in the National Strategic Framework, in the National AIDS framework, as I said earlier, the National AIDS plans, and it's very important that one has to look at this, and as we are saying, is socially and economically, Namibia is evolving economically, and there is so many different social challenges and aspects that influence the virus, and one has to adhere to it, and this is what Namibia is doing. There is ongoing strategy formulation and ongoing reviews, looking at, and as you all know, we started with the medium-term plan, 1, 2, and 3, and now we are actually now busy with the National Strategic Framework, which is due for 2017, and which is ongoing review. So this is with regard to the National Health Policy, which is also giving guidelines on the use and the administration of ARV and ART to people living with HIV/AIDS. So I have come to the conclusion of my my lecture, and I hope that you have learned something. You will be ready for your test, exams, and also assignment. Thank you very much.